Hi, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Danielle.
Welcome to Unapologetically Females.
We wanted to create a fun, non-judgmental space where women can talk about their shared experiences.
Here we will normalize the challenges we face as females living in a society that dictates unrealistic and outdated expectations on what a woman should be.
Together, we hope to cultivate a supportive community of women who empower one another to courageously live unapologetically.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Although Cindy and Danielle are licensed therapists, this podcast is not to be interpreted as therapy or a replacement of therapeutic services. It is strictly a conversation between two women about their experiences in the world. If you liked today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Unapologetically Females. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this episode.
We are back with another episode. This week's episode, we have a special guest. I'm so grateful that she is here with us. She is one of my dear friends. I love her endlessly. She's an incredible woman. And if you're watching us on YouTube, she does silly faces. We have Dr. Teddie Jackson with us today. Yes, the official.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Official title.
Yeah. How often do you, you have to hear that often, right?
I hear it often enough, and it still feels very fucking weird. Like, it still is jarring.
Really?
Like, who's that?
Can I meet her?
Yeah. She sounds official.
Yeah. So you are official, and you're here, and we thank you so much for being here today. We've been trying to do this for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. Since we started, we've been trying to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, you were on the list of things, like people and things topics. Mm-hmm. You weren't the top,
I'll be a topic.
When we were talking about bringing in guests, you were like Danielle's number one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Teddie.
Yeah.
My heart just grew 10 times its size.
Oh, I love it. And she's wearing a shirt that I absolutely adore that says, "Be gentle with yourself."
Love that.
That's Teddie.
Yeah.
I love it. Sure. So we are continuing on with our Inspiring Women series.
And we are filming from
the Marriott Butte. So
in
thank
Tempe,
you.
Arizona. So thank you to them for having us and giving us this beautiful room.
Yes. So Teddie is here from on holiday. She's really proper.
I'm very proper. If you know anything about me.
And she has agreed to come on, and we just want to highlight her story, her experiences, and where she's at today, because she is an inspiring woman and a powerful, almighty feminist that we just love. No pressure.
I know, no pressure.
So take us back. I will say where you're at now. Tell us about your education, and then take us back to kind of the beginning of like childhood and your drive and how you got to the amazingness of who you are today is where we're going.
Oh boy. Okay. Education. So I actually really love my education story in the sense that, yes, it ends with Dr. Teddie Jackson, but it started It started with a major depressive episode and 5 different community colleges. So
That's a good story.
yeah, if you can start there,
Yes,
and end here. So yeah, 5 different community colleges: Santa Barbara, San Diego, Davis, Sacramento, and a bunch in Davis and Sacramento. And then transferred to UC Davis. Got my bachelor's in communication. Noticed that all of my communication professors were divorced and angry. And I was like, that seems weird if you're good at communicating. Like, why are your relationships fucked up? And at the time was in a wonderful relationship with my son's dad, Ben, and I was like, everybody deserves this. Everybody deserves to have a beautiful relationship. And so then got into marriage and family therapy at Alliant University in Sacramento.
nice.
Yeah.
And then where did you complete your PsyD?
Also at Alliant in Sac. And yeah, we'll get into the story of how all that played out. But yeah, it took like 6 years. There was a baby, there was a divorce, there was 2 interstate moves. But we get it done.
You did.
We get it done.
You did.
Yeah,
You did. So let's go back. So you are from
San Diego. A whale's vagina. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
No,
you
I
can say it.
I can't.
I mean, we're all about vaginas here.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, are you all about vaginas?
Not all. I take that back. I digress. No, I'm personally not all about vaginas. Cool if you are, though.
We have to go like on a vagina side road just to.
Yeah.
No, I was born in San Diego. My mom was born and raised in San Diego, and then I grew up in Nevada City,
Okay.
California.
And did your whole who did you grow up with?
This really does feel like a genogram. Who'd I grow up with? Who'd I grow up with? So, mom and dad, happily married. Not happily married. That was sarcasm, if you can tell.
Just totally going through like the
I'm going through
genogram.
that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It looks like a family tree for those of you who don't know what a genogram is. It's like, you write the couple and then it splits off but it's really a history of trauma in your family.
100%. Yep. So mom and dad, and then I have a sister that was 2 years younger than I am, Kaylee. And then when I was 12 and she was 10, my parents had their third child, Danny, and so it was the three girls, but a very odd break.
Yeah.
So like Kaylee and I were sort of more than siblings, less than parents, and poor Danny had 4 different, parents.
People telling her what to do.
Him what to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. And your parents split up.
Yes.
What age was that for you?
Well, a hard question to answer in the sense that they separated, but didn't tell us, but pretended to be married. Speaking of trauma. Pretended to be married. So this was like my senior year of high school. So I'm not entirely sure when all of that started, but the like week of my graduation from high school, my mom sits us down, like classic in the movies, sits us down, we have something to tell you. I have something to tell you because your father isn't here. We're getting a divorce, blah, blah, blah. And I was gearing up to go on a 6-week Europe backpacking situation.
Good timing.
Good timing. So I grabbed my giant backpack and just pieced out. I was like, cool, y'all are falling apart, I'm out.
Yes.
Yep.
Where did you go? Did you go to Europe?
No, that would be dope.
Yeah.
I'm like, change my ticket.
Yeah.
No, I went and stayed with my now ultimate life partner, Ari, in her childhood home.
Nice.
For the week, and then we pieced out to Europe.
I'm curious how you secretly separate. What did that look like?
Bro. It looked like, so my dad is a pilot. My mom was a stay-at-home homemaker. So my dad was already gone, his work schedule was gone, 3, 4, or 5 days, home 2, 3 days.
Okay.
And so he just kept coming back for a couple days at a time, every handful of days. And they were I found this out later, that they were sleeping in the same room, with the doors closed, but he was sleeping on the floor and she was sleeping in the bed, and they were just straight up pretending to be together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that, in that moment, taking my shit, leaving. Mm-hmm. What were the thoughts, the emotions associated with that reaction?
For me, probably just disassociation, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Probably just fuck all that. Yeah. I'm trying to launch.
Yeah.
I'm trying to launch here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have the best time of my life. Yeah. Graduating from high school and going to Europe with my nerd alert, with my touring choir.
I love that.
2-week concert tour. Trying to have the
choir.
best time of my life, and I don't know what the fuck y'all are doing, but
you're not messing with it.
I am just going to shut all that down
Okay.
And try to have a nice time.
Reflecting on that time in your life, how did that
Shape who you
influence,
are.
shape kind of like your next maybe 10 years of decisions?
Well, that's a really good question. In that moment, there was disassociation, but that's where, so the time frames, right? That was like June, and then I'm in Europe for the summer, and then I start community college in Santa Barbara in the fall. And I move into a room of a very depressed lady. I've told you about Sabina, I think. This very depressed lady that was renting out her room. Her toenails, when I first moved in, they were short, and when I moved out a semester later, they were grown out so long that they clicked on the floor, and it was just terrible. Anyway, so
Visual.
Yeah.
real bad,
Yeah.
real gross.
Yeah.
I love you.
Shout out to Sabina, wherever you are now,
And your toenails.
and your long toenails.
Sabina
And that's
needs a
when
pedicure.
she needed a pedicure.
Yeah.
She needed a lot of things.
Sabina, if you're out there, we'll sponsor your pedicure.
Yeah, yeah.
For taking care of Teddie.
For real.
Yeah.
But that's where the major depressive episode started. So I think Europe was sort of this like, wow, this is life.
Okay.
This is amazing. I'm super present to experiencing turning 18 in France and, you know, the whole nine. And then throughout that time, really distancing myself from what was going on at home, and then coming back and realizing everything I've known is changed. I call it my diving board moment. Have we talked about this? That it felt like, you know, graduating high school is this time where you're like bouncing, you're jumping on the edge of a diving board, and you're about to bounce off into life. And when I bounced, the diving board broke. And so like Europe was me like falling, you know, into
That's such
the
a good
pool.
analogy.
That's what it felt like, man. So then landing in Santa Barbara and like landing in the pool, to complete that metaphor, I drowned, you know.
Yeah.
I drowned in whatever the dissociation kept me from drowning, you know, for that time period.
How would you, when you reflect on your childhood, pre-separation, divorce, I guess you really didn't know about the separation, you just knew about the...
Yep.
You probably felt more than you knew.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
How would you describe your childhood in like 5 words? Like if you were like, when I thought it was this, what would you say it is now? You know, did that vary?
Yeah. Oh, man. I think that generally speaking, I had a very ideal childhood in the sense that I had all of my basic needs met. I was supported generally. And I grew up in Nevada City. I grew up in this amazing place that offered a lot of independence. It was small, it was artsy fartsy, so I could sort of spread my wings in that way. All that being said, I don't have a lot of memories, period, kind of across the board, of childhood up until maybe like teens. So I have like spotty memories, which again, trauma.
Sure.
So describe it then like, I like trees. I have fun playing. Describe it now, I was dissociated for much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, sorry, I feel like I'm just spitfiring questions.
No.
Go right ahead.
You've been waiting for this moment. This is your moment. Go for it.
So we're now at the place of major depressive episode. Boom.
Boom.
Share. When did that, so started school. We finished our first semester and how was the first semester?
I discovered marijuana So again, don't remember a ton of it. I worked.
Did you complete your classes?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good for you.
Oh yeah.
Did you go to class? Like, were you, I mean, in major depressive
know.
state, I would think it's hard to get out of bed and go to class.
Man, there's so many things, so many overlapping themes. Yeah. So I was going to classes. I was also working like more than part-time at a coffee shop. So I'd like wake up at 4 and go work.
That's
and
how
then
you
go to
did it. All the
classes.
coffee.
All the coffee. It was the caffeine. It was the caffeine. But I think now, looking back, I can say that staying like overextended and just staying in a sort of contracted state is what got me through all of that. Like if I had tried to be more gentle with myself and tried to like, okay, I'll just take a few classes, I'll just take 1 or 2 classes, let me just be gentle. I don't think I could have done it. So actually pushing past my capacity at that time is how I did it.
Okay.
Makes
You know what I
sense.
mean? It's like,
I can relate to stuff,
yeah,
Yeah.
like
defense mechanism.
totally. Just go as hard as possible.
Right.
Don't slow down, otherwise
Do
I'll have to
not.
think about what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or fall apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when did you fall apart? When did it catch up?
Dude, if I'm honest, like 2 years ago. Like not until the sort of like the happy ending was me being like, and now I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
But I'm safe enough to, and I'm supported enough to, and you know,
Right.
all the things. But I probably just stayed in that contracted, over functioning place
Sure.
until then, like maybe until 2021 or 2022.
So thank you for being so honest.
Yeah.
So that semester, end of semester comes, Sabina and her toenails are clinking away, and you go where next?
My mom's garage.
Okay.
Yep. Still depressed.
That doesn't sound depressing at all.
At all. No, it was like
From toenails to garage.
toenails to garage. Yeah. I decide living in this house by myself, smoking weed and over functioning is probably killing me. I just need to like curl up in a ball. And my mom didn't have room in her new house. So all this time, sorry, let me back up for a second. In that, let me sit you guys down and tell you what's going on conversation, it was also, and we're selling the house and everyone's moving. So they sold the house that we lived in. My mom moved to San Diego with my 2 sisters, which shout out to Kaylee, moving mid-high school
Yeah.
and
that's
starting over
hard.
as a junior,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's rough.
Super rough. And then Tom, my dad, moved here to Phoenix, and then I leave. You know, it's like, so then when I came back from overseas, it was like I didn't have a home. My home was now gone. So she got this house in San Diego and didn't have room for me, and literally bought like industrial fabric.
Like insulation, almost?
Yeah, like canvasy,
okay.
thick, whatever,
Yes.
Like kind of what's on my view fence, right? Where so you can't see through, like on construction sites.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like super industrial level shit, and just draped the whole garage, and that was my room. And thank God, San Diego is so temperate that you could just live in a garage and be fine. And so I had like a mattress on the floor and a little string with hangers, and stayed there for a semester, worked at a medical office doing billing, and went to college classes there, and stayed depressed. I remember my little sister at the time, Danny, walking into the garage one time and looking in the trash can, and her little 6-year-old self put her hand on her hip, and she goes, "Teddie, you've been eating too much cheese." As I'm like laying there, it's like, I know, like sleeping. So that was also, rough period.
Sounds like the definition of minimalist.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Laying there looking at the hangers going, I feel like I want to sell all my clothes and like reinvent myself, that level of depression.
Yeah.
But then that's when I met Ben, Remy's dad, and not met, but came into relationship with digitally. This was in the early days of Facebook.
Okay.
Like early days of Facebook. And MySpace and all that shit. And we started chatting, and I started driving up. So he's from Nevada City, too. Started driving up to Nevada City, which is like an 8-hour drive, to visit him, and we kind of started dating. And so when that semester was over, pieced out again and moved up to Nevada City and stayed with him in his house, which was like a bro house. And he was living in a walled-off kitchen, like a kitchen nook that he had hung like flat. I'm like, I went from the garage to the kitchen. At least I'm inside. I don't know. But that's where the depression started lifting, was getting out of Southern California. And,
okay.
Yeah, starting to feel a little agency and a little like, okay, I'm in charge of my life.
Right.
I can make decisions,
Right.
Yeah.
So you get up there, you get to the kitchen. I mean, we could do an episode on your living situation.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Started from the bottom. Now we're in the kitchen.
I mean, the toenails alone.
Yeah.
Like, so good.
Yeah.
That's quality content right there, just so you know.
You know what? I do need to just add that shout out to Sabina's pedicurist, because the little flower that they had painted on the toenail was still there. It was there, like clicking and clacking away. So that was some high quality pedicure.
That's amazing.
Pedicure art.
Wow. So
Sorry.
that's good. Okay, so we make it to the kitchen. We're with Ben. And you are in school still. I'm also fascinated that you continued to enroll semester after semester, sometimes in the same college and other times not, many times not. So, I mean, like, I just want to highlight that, because that is perseverance. That is resilience. Like that could, because when someone's in a major depressive episode and feeling lost and have uprooted your life from everything you've known and come back to a shell of what you thought you knew was like, all of that, and continued to re-enroll in school and go. That alone is like...
What do you think pushed you to do that?
I think that's probably the same answer. It's like, once that, at least for me, once I'm sort of on a trajectory. I have a plan. I have a thought. I have a plan. It's what is containing. It's what feels grounding and anchoring. Okay, I know that I can control this. I can control that I am moving towards a goal, and that feels like the only thing I'm holding on to in this moment is that goal and my ability to like keep taking steps towards it, almost obsessively. Whatever that means, but obsessively to the extent that it was helping me.
Right, right.
It was helping me feel contained.
Which, at some point, I want to circle back to that comment. So reminds me, because the busyness, and I want to know now, can you sit still? Like where you're at now with some of that, how have you gotten there? Anyways, kitchen, Ben. You move up there, you re-enroll in another community college, you continue to go to school, work, I'm assuming, and you and Ben start building a life. Take us through that.
Yeah, I think those years, there's like maybe a 2-year chunk of time where now I'm sort of bouncing around community colleges in the Sacramento area, and he and I are bouncing around shitty apartments that I can look back on and say those were some very happy times, and really, really enjoying independence and, the actual launching stage stuff where you're like, I can stay up late and eat what I want.
I can eat dessert for dinner because I'm an adult.
Yeah, totally. And I was working at this really cool art store with a bunch of was like all female employees and female management. The owner was selling it to the 2 women who had been running it, and it was a really cool environment. So Ben and I made friends with all those girls, and we had just, it was one of those moments in history where you have the group, and the group is really fucking cool, and everyone is doing their own thing, their own life trajectories, but everyone is just smart and lovely and funny and down to earth. And this is mostly in Davis, California.
So when did you guys get married? When did you and Ben get married? You were up living together, bouncing around, doing your thing, living that life. And then at what point did you guys decide to get married?
Oh, yeah. So
did that already happen?
No, not at all. Not at all. That was my best childhood friend, Steph. Shout out, Steph. Recently told me, Teddie, you do this thing where you're like really against something, like very strong. And then overnight you're like, that's a thing, and now I'm for it. So that's, her example was marriage. So at the time, Ben and I were together like 5 or 6 years before we got married. And I was like staunch, I'm not getting married and fuck that shit. And, it's about owning women and property and like all the political stuff. And at some point, so then I transferred to UC Davis. I had to fast track UC. I finished the 2 college years in a year and a half because the community college system miscounted and whatever. Long story short. So I fast track Davis, enroll in grad school, and at that point I'm like, maybe I don't want to get married, I want insurance and shit.
So practical.
So practical. And in that sort of time frame is when I cut off Tom my dad for the first time. And so he cut me off financially. And at that point, I think is where the realism of, marriage is a contract and is about property and is about all those things and still is, and I need it. So
sign me up.
Sign me up, sir.
Yeah.
So that's how that played out. I don't know how long. I don't know when that was.
It
Okay.
sounds super romantic.
It was really romantic. We sat down at a table and we're like, so, are we doing it?
Yeah.
Are we gonna be engaged, or do we just set a date? It was very
contractual,
logical. Yeah.
Did you have how did you get married? Did you have a wedding? Did you have a full on?
Yeah. We went to San Francisco City Hall and eloped. We told our families that we were doing that. On that day, Tom showed up and was like, "It's public record," and was there. And then we went on our honeymoon to Portland because that's a famous, honeymoon destination.
Yes.
It's raining. It's wonderful.
I always dream of Portland in the winter.
Yeah, I always dream of Portland in the winter.
Little bass fishing.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
And then we had a wedding months later.
Okay.
A handful of months later.
And how quickly did you guys get pregnant?
I should know my own timeline better than this.
It's all good.
Bad. This is bad. So that was 2011 maybe.
Okay.
And then we had Rems it had to be later. Oh, maybe 2013? I don't know. Is that bad?
Mm-mm.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
It's all a blur.
Yeah,
It's all a blur. Yeah. Then
Nonetheless, you got pregnant and had a baby.
Got pregnant, had a miscarriage, got pregnant, had a baby, and got pregnant the first time. Very excited. We were trying. It was the first month. I joke that I've never been off birth control and not gotten pregnant. So fertile myrtle. Got pregnant, very excited. Had a miscarriage, very sad. Accidentally get pregnant in 2 weeks after the miscarriage.
Oh, wow.
It was the first cycle. Didn't know that I was pregnant. Ben moved back to California. All of this is in Phoenix.
Okay.
Moved back to California, find out I'm pregnant for the second time, like on the way. Like it was the day before I was driving back to California, and really, really struggled, like was not ready. And then immediately became very ill for like 6 months and had a very difficult pregnancy, and then had REMS, and that's Remy Eugene. And yeah.
How was postpartum for you?
You know what? The general theme across all of this is overextending. You know, the theme is all this time, I still wasn't done with my doctorate at that point, so I was still like working full time, going to school full time, pregnant, writing a dissertation, like, you know, doing the research, all of that stuff, starting a new job in Sacramento, just the whole 9 yards.
Feeling like shit the whole time.
Feeling like absolute hell. Like I remember thinking, I want to go to sleep and not wake up. You know, like I can't like exist this way.
Yeah.
This is too difficult. So then postpartum was the same, like went back after 6 weeks. I hadn't been at the job long enough to qualify for any kind of, you know, support or disability. So we were broke. I was on WIC. We were like trying to just make ends meet. I was doing high needs case management for folks in the foster care system. So I was driving around town. I'm like pumping while driving. You know, I'm like listening to videos of Remy like laughing to like get the milk going, like while I'm driving to somebody's house. You know, and going like, this is normal, right? Like this is life. This is what it is.
And then when you get to your destination, it's not a happy
Right.
It's not like an uplifting. You're
totally.
mediating arguments and difficult situations.
100%. Yeah.
So, how was your marriage through that time?
You know, that's a good question. It was good. I mean, it was a good marriage in the sense that we were good to each other. We were kind to each other.
That's something that I think I I know I really respect you for, is the way that you've always talked about Ben and your relationship. So always just very kind, always very kind.
Yeah, like we never disrespected each other, you know. I still think highly of him, like he's a good human. And yeah, so the marriage itself was supportive and loving, I'd say. During that time, so basically after Remy was born, Ben has some pretty severe mental health issues, and they were really triggered by the sleeplessness and, you know, the pressure of new parenthood, and we worked opposite schedules, so he was the primary parent during the day while I was at work, and then I was sort of primary in the evenings and in the early mornings, and so all of that really triggered essentially like a meltdown that caused him to not be able to function as a human in the world. I think he'd be okay with me saying that. And he ended up having to basically remove himself from our lives.
Yeah.
So, and he would say that, you know, like, you need to take care of Remy. I'm unable to take care of him and you. So that was right around Remy's first birthday. So for a year, we were in this sort of just like survival mode cycle. And then right around a year is when I picked up and
came to Phoenix. And that is where we met. That's when we met. At that time, you had just gotten to town, like within that week.
Yes.
And how many years ago was that?
How old's Remy? 9?
That was in 2017.
Okay. So 9 years ago, right? No.
Don't ask me. I don't do math.
No, 8 years. 7 years ago.
This is why we all got into the social sciences.
Yeah, that was 7 years. 7 years ago.
We're big on qualitative work.
Yes.
We can't do math, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay.
That was 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
7 years ago.
Yeah, so that, and when we met, that was in like end of summer-ish time.
Yeah, we were in the pool.
We were swimming,
we were
so it was
yeah.
like end of summer. Ben and I separated. Because of all of the logistical issues, I had to pack up our home, decide what he was getting, what I was getting, pack up his stuff and like leave it, pack up my stuff, put it in my car, pack up the rest of it and put it on a moving truck. And then I just moved around with Rems for like 3 months. My ultimate life partner, Ari, and her partner, Kevin, took me and Remy in for a handful of weeks, like maybe a month. And Ari watched him while I literally finished my dissertation. Wow. Whilst single parenting, quit my job, didn't know where I was going, didn't know what I was doing.
Man, talk about grit.
Holy
wow.
shit.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best part is, so I was writing my dissertation on same-sex marriage, which had just become legalized at the federal level. So I had interviewed all of these couples that got married, and it was a cool qualitative research project on, like, what is it like being married?
Yeah.
Like, you're the first ones. Tell us about it. And the feedback I got from the committee when I went up to defend it was basically like, you are writing about marriage, meanwhile I'm getting divorced, and like, we can't hear your voice, like, where are you in this, like, you need to situate yourself more. I'm like, if I fucking situate myself anymore, I am going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Like, you are going to hear a sad woman, like, because you don't want more of me, I promise you. Yeah, why did I go down that road?
Wow.
You were talking about finishing
My dissertation.
and,
yes,
yeah.
whilst homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And
While having moved here, while meeting Danielle,
Yeah.
while having a 1-year-old.
While having a 1-year-old. Yeah, that was wild. So then, finished the dissertation, submitted it. Thank you so much to Ari and Kevin for...
Pedicures for them, too.
Yeah, pedicures for them, too.
Pedicures all around.
They'll take it. They'll take it. And then kind of couch surfed a bit, trying to, I have a 1-year-old, like, all the family wants to see the kid. And so I'm like, well, I don't have a job, so I might as well. So I'm like going up to see all the people. I think I counted one time that in that 3-month chunk of time, Remy slept in like 8 different rooms or 10 different rooms or something wild like that. So he was a pretty securely attached kid, but then after the 10 different rooms, we started having some attachment stuff, but landed in Phoenix, landed in Gilbert, got hooked up with a job. Thank you, Christine. Shout out to Christine.
Another pedicure.
Another pedicure. Yep. And that's where I met you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was coming to be a community-based counselor.
Work full time.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
yeah.
And also, can we just, I think where you landed is another part of your story, which we can talk about too in another episode, the next one, because if we, trauma. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
But landed with Tom.
Landed with Tom.
With Tom and his partner, Sarah. And you were there for a few years, right?
Yeah, it was maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
So we started working together. You were going to do community-based counseling that you recognized early on.
Very early on.
I don't think you started.
Yeah.
Like, I think you maybe were just assigned, I don't actually think you were even assigned a caseload at that point. And you were like, I'm not in a space to do community-based counseling.
Yeah, I would never have admitted that limitation to myself, let alone my employer, had the HR situation not been a thing. Like, I probably would have just pushed through and done it and just like melted.
Yeah.
Which was my go-to.
Yes.
To just push through, but I couldn't. Yeah, it was like the first day I was out in the field. I was, an hour away from where Remy was in childcare, and I get the call, that he's sick or something, and I have to like cancel my very first, moment, cancel everyone else the rest of the day, go pick up the kid. And I'm like, this is wild. This is not going great.
Yeah.
Not going great.
Yeah, so geographically working on the reservation, I know this because then I did that job. That's how Danielle and I met. But when you have a child and you're working on the reservation, you're not getting anywhere quickly. Yeah. And typically your calls can be 30 to 60 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Geographically. So, yeah. So when you get a call about your sick kid, it's not like, oh, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
10 minutes,
yeah. It's...
be there in an hour.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Yeah. Depending on where you are. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's stressful. That's with with all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were able to transition out of that role. An HR role came up. And Teddie was the infamous HR.
Such a good part of the story.
It's such a good part.
So random.
Because not planned, not your background. And I still stand by we had multiple, and no knock on anyone, but you came into that role and having no background in it, or I don't think you were seeking out to be an HR manager or...
First day on the job, I Googled, what is human resources? I am not kidding.
That's
not
amazing.
kidding. I straight up Googled it.
And made it, I would say, a thriving one-woman department. You were... And the laughing, the joke internally was we'd say HR or nah.
HR or nah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. That was, I know, for any employer out there, they're like, that sounds terrible. But
It was. Don't do that. Don't do what I did.
But you were fantastic. And brought something to that space that I think was very unique, is very unique to you. And created a very safe space for people. And that was different than I think that organization had ever experienced. So that's credit to you and who you are. Says a lot about you again.
And your adaptability.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So you spent the next, that was quick. From 2017 to 2021 in that role. Mm-hmm. Yes. 2017 to 2021. In that role, and in 2020, we all know COVID hit. Mm-hmm. We're fast forwarding a lot because I think those years are important. I want to we won't fast forward a lot because during that time, and we thought this was a 30-minute episode.
I was like 30 minutes.
Yeah. You don't know my life.
The cuts are going to be great. Yeah. Just boom, boom, boom. Fact.
I love it. During that time, you stayed with Tom for a year and a half, Tom and Sarah. That was an experience in and of itself. Mm-hmm. And another, I want to say, pivotal moment when you moved out, and kind of the trajectory from there. Because I want to get to I feel like all of those moments led to finding your person.
True. And
so can you just share with us, those years, what you went through, your experience and how you worked through that? Again, grit is what comes to mind for me.
Yeah. I moved out, so I moved in with Tom and Sarah in their spare rooms. At the time, Rems was going to sleep at 8 p.m. maybe or 9 p.m. And needed me to be in the room. Yeah. Any parents out there understand this phase. And then was waking up for the day around 3 a.m. So my life looked like laying in bed with him until he fell asleep, and then going to sleep myself, and then waking up at 3 and getting ready for the living. And then dropping him off at childcare, having been awake for like 6 hours already, and going to the office at 8, like the earliest I could be in there.
Wow. Yeah. I
and
remember
then working
that.
until like 4, picking him up, and just like, on repeat.
I forgot I forgot that you did that, but I remember talking about it going, because we have children that are close in age.
Close, yeah.
And it was like, and I was in it myself, and with all the things. But yeah, I'm like, I can't even, 3 a.m. Like,
yeah, it was wild.
Wow.
It was wild.
I'm like, why do you get here so early?
I've been up for 4 hours.
Yeah. I remember thinking, I'm like, she's such a morning person.
Yeah.
So, anyways, okay,
Right.
so did that.
Yeah, did that. But I think I joke, but it's not a joke, that because of me essentially not having any time to myself, I didn't have time to process. Like, I didn't have time to grieve what the fuck was happening in my life, or to feel anything. I have this whole thing that I talk about often, my Walmart moments, which is that I didn't have time to process. And so when the feels would get too intense, I'm at work and someone comes in and says something, and I can feel myself tearing up, and clearly I'm not tearing up at the thing, I'm tearing up because I am like falling apart inside. I would just get in the car, drive across the street to Walmart, just cry until I couldn't cry anymore, and then just come back to work, and I'm like, cool, like got that out of my system, and like that was my healing from divorce process. So did that with Tom, and ended up moving out after like essentially what was a DV situation with him. Left like that night.
Yeah.
A good friend, Gwen, and her family, the Napes, put me and Remy up for, it took me a week to find an apartment that I could afford. I gave myself a friggin' kidney stone. I gave myself a kidney stone during that time. I was like putting together IKEA furniture, and I'm like, man, my back hurts. Like, why does my back hurt so bad? Put together this fucking couch by myself, like whilst passing a kidney stone. That is like that's the theme.
Yeah.
That's the grit.
IKEA and kidney stones.
IKEA and kidney stones. That sounds like a podcast.
I mean, maybe it needs to be the title of this one.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty good. Yeah, so move into this terribly crappy apartment, decorate the shit out of it, give Remy the bedroom. I'm sleeping on a pull-out couch in the living room. But I feel, and at this point, I don't know if this makes sense, but I didn't have anything, like, because of the divorce process and the way that it all played out. I had his crib, a filing cabinet with all of my like life files.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. I might have had like a chest, like a family chest or something, but I had absolutely nothing. So I like had to purchase, I remember going to Walmart and spending like $800 to like have a kitchen, you know? Mm-hmm. And getting home, I had, first night in the apartment or whatever, wanting to go cook, put Remy down. It's like 9:00. I am like exhausted. And I go to open a bottle of wine, and I don't have a fucking wine bottle opener.
Oh my gosh!
Because I didn't buy one.
You just
at
hit
Walmart.
home with me after my divorce. Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean I don't have a wine opener? Like, spent $700 at the market to get,
can openers.
Basic,
like,
yeah.
I had,
but no wine opener. Like,
no wine opener.
Yeah, where were our priorities?
And that's like recent for you. So that had to, when you moved into your place just like 6 months ago, that like feels for, I'm like, oh, that's so terrible.
Yeah, that is the worst.
Right?
It's the worst moment.
I mean, really. Yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Pretty
Forget
sure
the kidney
I like
stone. The no wine opener.
Yeah.
That sets you over the
I
top.
can handle a kidney stone. I can't handle a night without wine. Shit. And you're a single parent with an infant.
Did that break you in the moment? Did you start sobbing? Because I feel like...
No, I channeled it into shoving the cork down into the bottle. Determination, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
A theme.
So I got
right there.
that
Theme.
wine. I got that fucking wine. Yes, that is the theme.
So perseverance, grit.
Perseverance.
Yes.
Perseverance and grit. During that time frame in that crappy apartment, another like random theme. So it's hot as fuck in Phoenix. I like
Yes.
we've talked about this struggle. It was a crappy apartment and it was really hot. And so I was doing all these things, like I got a toaster oven and I'd like get an extension cord and put the toaster oven outside and like cook it out there to like try
not heat up the place. Yeah,
because the apartment was so hot and the AC like didn't keep up with it. And our friend Mary Teresa came over one time and I was like, I'm so sorry, it's really hot in here, like the AC is not that great. And she comes in and she's like, Teddie, your AC is broken. Like this is not like it's going, but
didn't
it's like,
she bring you a Christmas tree too?
and she bought me and decorated me a rainbow
Pedicure for Mary Teresa.
Yeah.
She gets a pedicure.
pedicure.
Pedicure. You get a pedicure. You get a pedicure.
Again, shout out to Oprah.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a pedicure.
Everybody gets a pedicure. That was so bad. Sorry, Oprah.
I know.
Sorry, Oprah. We love you.
If she's listening, they're like, of course she's listening.
She's listening.
Of course.
But I think the point being that I'm just so used to suffering. Like I'm so used to taking what is and not questioning it, you know, and kind of going, it's fucking hot and I'll work around it. Oh, my life is falling apart. I'll work around it. You know, whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah.
Just fucking put your head down and move
Power
through
through,
it. Yeah, power through. And I don't need to all the time, you know?
When did you learn you didn't need to?
Recently, like in the last couple of years.
Okay.
You know?
So you, that's huge. I mean, I feel like that connection right there.
Huge moment.
Huge.
Yeah.
So you get out of that apartment, you stay there for a year? 2?
Yeah, it was like a year, maybe even less than a year. During that time, like Remy's starting to grow up and I'm starting to see some things. So I get him assessed. He ends up with an IEP. And I want to enroll him in preschool to get the services. And so I want to do that in Gilbert instead of Mesa. I don't know.
Yes.
And so I move us into these like bougie ass apartments in Gilbert. At this point, I'm working as HR full time. I'm doing contract work.
Yeah, to be a clinical
supervisor. Yep. And because of that extra income, I could afford the new apartment.
Rewind really quick too. There was a moment in time when Teddie had to finish her hours as well.
I did have to finish my hours.
And she worked full time during the week as HR and then went into one of our programs on the weekend and worked essentially 30 hours, I would say, on the weekend too.
Wow.
And so, like that's, and single momming it and like, yes. So she finished her hours in that time as well.
Yeah.
To get her independent license.
And you need 1,600 hours. Just for those who are listening that don't know, when you get your license, then you need 1,600 direct hours, meaning clinician to client in order. So 30 hours a weekend.
And then a 40-hour a week job.
Right.
During Monday through Friday.
And 1,600 divided by 30 is something. I don't know, but that's not a short road. Yeah.
And so she
That's
powered
impressive.
through that.
Got licensed, defended the dissertation from Arizona, defended the dissertation, passed, graduated, worked every other weekend until I got all my hours done and got licensed, and then was able to get the second job because now I'm licensed. Now I have more job opportunities to make more money, to get me out of the crappy apartment with the broken AC and into the bougie ass apartment with a very nice pool.
Very nice pool.
Very nice pool.
Very nice front desk. Like, let's talk
Very
about
nice front desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It had free beer Fridays.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
That means you're paying too much in rent.
100% correct. But yeah, that was the point. That was a huge turning point where I felt like, okay, I have the things. Like, I did the things. I got the degrees. I got the license. Now I can just focus on career. Remy's in school, IEP, services, school bus, supports, people, like
AC.
AC that works.
New furniture.
No-
There was some furniture
Got new
enhancements.
furniture. Yes, yes.
You had a nice place. Like, it was you made it your
cute.
own. It was really cute.
It was cute. And I think that probably also reflected where I was emotionally starting to come out of straight, just I'll take whatever the fuck I can get, mentality, and really like lifting myself up and going, like, I deserve nice things and I want to be happy. And like, I got into therapy again and started doing those things for myself. And I think the major turning point from that apartment was this sort of like, man, I can be happy now. Like, I can choose that. I can do what I need to do to be happy now. And it really did get there. Like, in that apartment, in that time frame, I really enjoyed supervising. I really enjoyed my community at work. And I really was starting to enjoy single parenting. And going like, what I say about that is it's infinitely harder in the sense that you are 100% responsible for absolutely everything. But it's infinitely simpler. I didn't have to like work with anybody.
Yeah.
And Ben is not hard to work with. Ben's a really awesome co-parent. But it made it simpler to say, like, I'm just in charge of all the things. And really enjoyed that and enjoyed my time with Rems and kind of settled into this place of, like, if this is it, like, I'm great. Like, if this is what it is for the rest of time, I'm good,
Yeah.
And that peace and sort of, like, acceptance of what it is was a huge, huge, huge turning point. Like, I don't think I'd ever been there before.
And I think that speaks to kind of what you then were putting out to invite into your life at that time. And so one day you're just floating in the pool. Mm-hmm. You're like floating, sipping.
Well,
Free beer,
that was
fancy pool.
That was many days.
Life is
That was many
good.
days, yeah. Well, let me back up for a second. So I decided I want to move back to California. I want to move back home. I want to get out of this desert death trap. No offense.
None taken.
Great. And so my brain is going, I'm licensed, but I need to be licensed for 2 years just to transfer it to California. So I'll put together this whole plan. I'm going to start an online business, but I'm going to base it in California. So I need to get, I'm doing all of this stuff. So then when I move, it's, and at this point I'm going, I'm only going to date women, and I'm just going to put dating on hold, and I'm just going to meet, like, I have a much better queer community in NorCal. So I
remember this time too. You were doing online dating and you were like, I keep meeting, like not the best. Not the best. And you were just like, you had your eye on the prize of NorCal. And I remember one day we were sitting in your office just shooting the shit. And I'm like, why don't you start like looking for people in NorCal? Like, if you know that that's where you're going to go, like you're looking for people here and they are rough.
Yeah. It's not my crowd. Not my crowd.
And let's just project it, like put it out there in the world and say, like, I'm going to meet somebody in NorCal and all the things. I just remember you having your plan. Like, it was
a very, very, like, there was a time frame.
Yes.
I was like, so a year from now, I'll have the 2 years under my belt. And, I did do that. Like, I set the location to SAC and, like, didn't really. I was like, whatever, never mind. I'm a year out. But I kind of just put my head down and was like, I'm just going to enjoy this next year. I'm going to enjoy the flexibility that I have, enjoy the jobs that I'm doing, and just be happy here, and then move. And
Got rats back there.
The cutest rats.
The cutest rats. Mice. Mice are cuter.
Mice, yeah.
She's our mascot.
She is. She is our
My daughter's here as well.
I wish everyone could see it. It's absolute amazingness. So I decided to just enjoy the shit out of life, and what that looked like mostly was reading a book by the pool and letting Rems swim, which was my escape from parenting, because Remy has always been like a really, really proficient swimmer, and so he can just swim, I can read, I can hear that he's alive. This is perfect for a single parent. And then one day I hear Remy like talking with someone, and I'm like, God damn it, no, stop.
No
We
strangers.
don't want to make friends
I
right
am
now.
not trying to, I don't want to have to quit reading my book.
Yeah.
This is mommy's time. But he's playing catch with a guy in the pool, a guy and his son in the pool, and I'm like really annoyed about it, because now I have to go do the like, what's your name?
Yeah. Small talk
Yeah,
stuff.
small talk, and thank you for playing, and try to get, like all that shit. I'm very annoyed. So I end up talking with the dad, and dad is clearly very into me, and I'm like, nah, like I hate this. Please, no. But we end up chit-chatting, and he's coming on like pretty strong. And it was the first time, I don't really do this ever. Like, this is the only time I've ever done this. But he was, we're doing the get to know you thing, and he's like, well, yeah, I have my master, my MBA. And he's kind of like, trying to be impressive.
Yeah. Let me show you my
And because
resume.
I'm a little annoyed and kind of like, I don't give a
did
fuck,
not.
I was like, I have my doctorate.
I'm Doctor. Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
and I'm doctor, but whatever. And it kind of shut him down. I kind of said it like in that way too, and it kind of shut him down, but almost made it more. Now he's even more interested.
Yeah.
And he'll say that he had no idea if I was gay or bi or straight. Like, he couldn't read the energy. His gaydar was very confused. And so he's like, I didn't know if I was like courting a best friend or a girlfriend, or like, I'm not sure what's happening here, but I like it. And so we chit-chatted. We met again at the pool the next day on Father's Day, and shout out to Andrew. His name is Andrew. When we saw each other, he wished me a happy Father's Day as a single mom. And I was like, okay, points.
I'll talk to you again.
Yeah. So we ended up chilling at the pool that day, and then we basically just talked all day, all night on the phone, like high school style, and sort of, the rest is history or whatever.
Yeah.
We're married now.
We're married now. Signed another contract.
Yeah. Whirlwind romance. We basically we took a week apart because I was like, boundaries, sir. I'm a working mom. Don't call me during the week. And so then we met up again the following weekend. We spent that evening together, and we have not been together since. Basically, we just like U-hauled the shit out of that situation.
So you have Remy to thank for that.
I do have Remy to thank for
I
that.
love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you guys end up moving in together in that same complex,
Yes.
and during that time, COVID happens.
Yes.
We do work from home life, and you start building a business.
Yes. Yeah, which was all a part of the initial California plan.
Yeah.
My diabolical plan to get out of here. It started, and actually all of that started, so I did BetterHelp as a therapist for a very brief period of time in 2019, and was like, this is dumb. I'll just work for myself, and quickly got off BetterHelp, started my business. COVID happened. It all happened like right around the same time. I think I filed my business license like January 1 of 2020. And so then started and doing all the things. And then COVID happens. And so the fact that it was an online business for virtual therapy was like, a blessing for the timing. And then the fact that we're all doing work from home, and there's a lot of just kind of chaos and scrambling around time and work responsibilities. I was able to start taking clients and start building the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you build this business. You and Andrew discuss moving to California, and he starts working the plan. He gets on board.
He gets on board with the plan.
Nice.
Yep. He did switch directions a little bit. I was planning on going to NorCal. He's always wanted to live in San Diego, which is, again, where I was born at this point. My mom is still in San Diego. He offhandedly, as a long shot, applies for, like, essentially his dream job in San Diego and fucking gets it.
Yeah.
And we're getting married. We decided to get married in San Diego to, be on the water. We have that wedding date already set for June 21st. This is like maybe April, end of April, maybe May.
I was on maternity leave with Hendrix with my son, and so I had just had him, and that was April 21st. That was the end of April. Yeah,
Okay,
21.
so end of April of 21.
You called me on maternity leave, so I want to say I was 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in, and said,
Holy schnurr.
"We're moving to San Diego." I got to tell you something. We're moving. I remember the call, and I was like, "Duh, you are." I remember telling you that. Like,
Of course you are.
I was like, "Duh." Yeah,
That's the correct response.
makes complete sense.
Yes.
And it was like, I'm 4 weeks out from moving, and you moved like the week before you got married, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Another
I was
like
so happy
just
for you.
wild moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he got the job. We poured a glass of wine, looked at each other, and we were
We
just
had a
like,
wine
so
opener.
we need to plan a wedding, plan a move, plan like where are we going to live?
Yeah.
All in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. Let's do this.
But we did it.
Yeah.
Fucking did it.
Yeah.
Moved to San Diego in June of 2021.
So you referenced earlier that your healing really, or you have felt that you were in a safe enough place to heal starting around this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did that journey look like?
Yeah, I think the COVID years and the building the business during that time was still sort of this head down. I'm following the plan. The chaos of moving, the chaos of all that change. We land in San Diego. We're married. We're staying here. Like I'm now self-employed, entirely self-employed. I only have one job for the first time in my entire life. I've never not had multiple jobs or school and work. And so I have a child. I have one child. I have two parents in the home. I have one job. And I have a really supportive relationship. And at that point is when I fell apart. Like that's when, okay.
You knew you could.
I knew I could. And like got into really solid therapy. Been in weekly therapy since then, November of 21. And have just been completely, essentially like reparenting myself to get to where I am today, which I'm going to continue to unravel and re-ravel and all the things. But yeah, I'm like in the middle of that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who would you say you are today?
I think probably the most authentic version of myself. Still trying to figure that out, it's still unfolding. But I think I'm probably the most trusting of that process today than I've ever been, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the mystery of it and I'm okay with that,
Can we give you a second to brag a little bit about where your practice is at?
Yeah. So, when I moved to San Diego in 21, I had about a half a caseload or maybe 3/4 of a caseload. So I was working like 10, 12 clients a week, got it up to like 20 to 25 clients a week in like 3 months somehow. And at that point, decided to hire more clinicians. And so immediately, this was still in the push through and just overextend phase of life. So immediately hired three associates that I was going to supervise, and one independent, or in California it's just licensed clinician, and or director of operations now. At the time it was admin. So immediately hired, what is that, 3, 4, 5 people, and was like, yeah, that's normal, right? You just hire all 5 and you just go, like, do it all at once. Why spread it out? So that was a little intense, but it worked. All of those folks are still with me, and I've hired 1, 2, 3, 4 more associates and another clinical supervisor to supervise, because there's a limit of 6 supervisees. So I have myself and another clinical supervisor, and I guess 6, 7, 8 clinicians.
Oh, impressive.
What's the name of your practice?
Oh, Hella Good Therapy.
That's the best. I
Hella
love
Good.
it.
Shout out to NorCal. Hella Good Therapy.
Yes. I know your story isn't over. It's still unfolding. I love that you feel like you are the most authentic version of yourself today and more trusting of the process. It's all the things have gotten you here. I am inspired by you. I'm even more inspired by you today than I was, an hour ago when we started, just hearing all the nuances of your life and how you've persevered that I didn't know about. It's like wild. I mean, when you really, how often do you think about your life? Like all the things and the roadblocks and what you've overcome and how you've pushed through, even if it wasn't in the healthiest of, like, it was a distraction, but it was serving a purpose.
Totally.
And it's gotten you to here, like where you're at today. Do you reflect on that often?
Once a week, Mondays at 1:30.
Right. Shout out to them too. Pedicure for her therapist.
Pedicure for Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Amazing. I just hope you know how incredible you are. And the light that you bring into the world is so unique. And every time I'm around you, I feel good. And so that's why I wanted you to be here today, because you are an inspiration. Hand hug.
Thanks,
I love
Danielle.
you, Teddie. I appreciate you taking this time with us.
Yeah. You light up every time you talk about her.
I know. She's the best. She's the best.
Very cute.
Until next time, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Cindy.
And I'm Teddie.